an RWDS patch on him at the shooting. RWDS standing for Right Wing Death Squad. Clearly someone who really like a really staunch Hinduist or Buddhist. Yeah, he could be a Buddhist, yeah. But also seems to be an enjoyer perhaps of Nordic runes. I guess we'll never know if this guy was a liberal or fascist or anything else. He posts this photo saying, "My kind of people. My kind of people again." So last week there was a mass shooting. You probably heard about it in a mall in Allen, Texas. And I'm not going to talk too much about the mass shooting itself. There's plenty of news out there about it. If you're interested, if you want to learn more about it, what I am going to talk about is the coverage that some people have chosen to do of the mass shooting itself. Now, usually I wouldn't really care that much. However, in this specific case, has been this very interesting trend with the coverage. So, obviously, as things are wants to happen whenever a tragic event like this happens, people want to blame it on the other side, politically speaking, which is pretty classic. In this specific case, there is not much, just to go over it real quick, there's not much ambiguity about what motivated the shooter here. They have found a social media profile on some obscure Russian website belonging to the shooter, with such his YouTube account with Hitler emoji, always a good sign. He had an RWDS patch on him at the shooting. The RWDS standing for Right Wing Death Squad. Posting photos of trying to be, like this guy says, he's trying to be the Zodiac Killer, I guess. See if you losers can solve this. I'd give you a hint, but even the smallest hint would give me away. Well, I'm off to watch my favorite show on Sci-Fi. And yeah, I wonder what his personal politics were. I'm clearly someone who really like a really staunch Hinduist or Buddhist. Yeah, he could be a Buddhist. Yeah, but also he really seems to like lightning, right? And seems to be an enjoyer perhaps of Nordic runes. Those could be Nordic runes. So maybe some like fusion, like a Buddhist Nordic pagan believer. But I don't know. I don't know. Surely we cannot jump to any conclusions from this. Oh yeah, and the comment on the photo. Here's what I think about your diversity, you fucking losers. And Ukrainian tattoos, Pepe laugh. Yeah. I saw that joke already. Yeah. Buddhist Nordic runes and Texas is still a red flag. True, I agree. And Alan Shooter was apparently a Timcast fan. Timcast, for those unfamiliar, is Tim Pool, one of the greatest commentators in modern history. Worth noting that the Alan Shooter didn't have any friends or groups on his OK profile. He used it like a personal diary. He may have chosen OK because it has virtually zero content moderation. Christ just noticed this. He was at the mall where he did the attack 3 weeks prior. He was monitoring the peak visiting times on Google. Receipt for the guns he bought. Yeah, that's a Glock. Ammunition, obviously. I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know if this guy was a liberal or fascist or anything else. He posts this photo saying, "My kind of people. My kind of people again." This guy really looks like that that fucking guy in the Tarantino movie. Inglourious Bastards. What's his name again? Cast Mélanie Laurent, Christopher Waltz as Hans Landa. Yeah. Actually fucking looks like Hans Landa. Like really close. My kind of people again. Just posting my kind of people on a bunch of people LARPing in SS uniform. Calling someone a violent incel has lost a lot of meaning in the last few years with the term being so overused, but yeah, it fits here. Oh no. Oh no. It's it's the social media wall of text. A review of psychological evidence concludes that men that are shaped by evolution to be aggressive towards outsiders. Okay, we got a little bit of evo psych cringe that always helps. Honestly, this stuff looks more like anti-politics than politics. I I would like to think that tattooing SS symbols and a swastika on your body is not an apolitical act. I would like to think that there's being anti-politics is not the same as being a neo-Nazi. There are differences between the two. From the mighty clash of two stags rutting to the dawn raid of a chimpanzee, much violence in nature is perpetrated by males fighting each other in competition for female mates. A new study claims it's a similar story with humans. Cultural differences, limited resources, and technological developments all play a role, but a team of psychologists based in China and Hong Kong believe the ultimate cause of human war rests with the male libido. Okay, doesn't actually cite the study, by the way. He talks about mass shootings somewhere, and he just takes the nihilistic position that there is no outside to spectacle. Look, I don't know what the motivation for the mass shooting itself was. That is another can of worms, and I'll grant you a little bit of charitability on that. Sure, maybe the in his own mind, in the mass shooter's mind, the cause for the reason why he went out to murder people was apolitical. But first off, it didn't happen into a vacuum. Like going through his social media, what we see is not an apolitical vacuum. What we see is someone who's completely embedded and bathing in the world of the far right worldview. One where this is a whole paragraph of text justifying violence as a biological necessity in human existence. Add to that all the fear mongering, all the nihilism, and even death cult aspects of far right ideology. You've created a very fertile ground for someone to just go out and murder people. The everything to me right now seems very, very political about what happened. The black pill, basically. Yeah, but the black pill doesn't appear in a void, in a vacuum. Like if someone was black pilled while actually going through a mostly apolitical existence, I would be willing to agree with you. But this person clearly was not in an apolitical existence. That's not what I'm seeing here. Well, he gamified the act, and yes, he spoke of the spectacle of it as supposedly paramount. The attack was racialized, and he operated more broadly in an explicitly fascist framework. Yeah, I don't know if the attack was racialized specifically. I haven't looked into that aspect yet, but clearly he operated within an explicitly fascist framework. That's kind of what I'm trying to argue. Now I'll scroll back up to see what he says about mass shootings. If men cannot be creators of society, they'll be destroyers of society. Men aren't entitled to sex. True, I agree, but women aren't entitled to safety either. The violent responses of men today are retaliatory. Yeah, this is some deep incel stuff. There is no real motivation to bother trying, to be a hard worker, to be civilized. When your reward at the end of the day is to get married to used goods, who is likely only settling for you because she's aged past her prime. Conclusion: everyone who tells us variations of sex is not a big deal needs to die, be forced into lifelong celibacy. No exceptions. Disenfranchised males equals self-destructive males. I actually agree with this sentence. I agree that disenfranchised people do are more easily self-destructive. Absolutely. I don't believe any more women are capable of genuinely loving a man. Based MGTOW. Anti-politics is still politically effective. But that's not like he's clearly espoused political symbols. That's the issue, real Peter Khan. If all he did was being like an edgy South Park, politics sucks guy, then sure. But there's a lot more to what he's been posting than just that. All right, enough of the incel manifesto. Yeah, so there was something above to the effect of what you guys are discussing that I skipped over. Oh yeah, the Allen shooter talking about a decent score in Nashville. Um, what the fuck is this? How do I even read this? A rip to all victims and my condolences. Femoid soy. Real men don't murder innocent victims. Just because the shooter is trans doesn't mean trans lives don't matter. No, no, no. Fuck all of this noise. It's also empty, fake, and boring. Every school shooting to me is the perfect time to be a completely horrible person and see this event like a sport or a comedy. Yeah, this is what you were talking about, Khan, right? The most important thing about a school shooting is to know the race of the person who did it, the kill count, and then compare their accomplishment of murder to all those who came before. So what I read in this, what I read in this is just like a super edgy death cult type mentality, glorifying the deaths, have complete disregard for human life, for the emotional reality of the those horrible things occurring. Absolute cynicism and nihilism. That's what I'm seeing here. Peter's talking of this. Okay, I'll check it out in a second. And also learn intricately the life of the killer so memes can be made. Because let's face it, killing people in an interesting way is an art that earns a lot of respect, just inherently. The tenuousness of life forces it to be this way, and to play into the moral banality of it as normies do is kinda gay to me. It's funny how pomp and circumstance, the murder reaction, has become this forced solemn church moment we all are forced to affect around in public in order to feel normal, when the reality is, I just know a lot of people are just like me and want to revel in the Schadenfreude. What's fascinating to me in this text, outside of the discussion of like was he political, anti-political, etc., is this is really just a confirmation of the journalism guidelines, stating that it's the coverage we do of mass shootings and of serial killers are is irresponsible. The it's the coverage is most of the time irresponsible. So there are those guidelines. I forgot the specific. I saw a post about it on the Reddit liberal gun owners subreddit. There was this post asking people to apply those guidelines. Let's see if I can find it again, because I should have written down the specific acronym for the guidelines. Basically, there are journalists who came together to write guidelines on how to differently cover such tragic events in order to not glorify the perpetrators and the events themselves. And to me, this text here is just a prime example of exactly this. Clearly in this person's mind, all of those horrific things have been just glorified, and they're just memes. He's spent he's literally like 4chan brain. He spent too much time on 4chan and can't take shit seriously anymore. I don't think it was this post. Man, I should have saved the post. I thought it was interesting because I thought it was interesting as well to like go through those guidelines myself and see what they are. Journalism guidelines reporting. Oh yeah, like there's an NPR article about it. NPR standards need more clarity around when to name a mass shooter. Is this it? Recommendations for reporting on mass shootings. Yeah, I think this is it. Research shows that the manner in which media reports on mass shootings can contribute to contagion, copycat behavior. Responsible reporting can reduce risk. Instead of reporting that a mental illness caused the shooting, report that most who live with a mental health condition are nonviolent. Reporting that one problem led to the incident. Explain that many factors contribute to mass shooting. Stating the perpetrator's name frequently. Present facts about the shooter and describe their behavior as illegal and harmful. Yeah, so like saying the perpetrator's name, it sucks that they aren't really like going into detail here, but the thing with the perpetrator's name is very interesting because you are, for someone who's lost all hope, someone who's deeply desperate and cynical and nihilistic. Hey, it's one of the last ways to make a mark on the world, right? You murder a bunch of people, they're going to talk about you for a couple months. So that definitely, I think, plays a big part. Portraying the shooter as heroic, romanticized, a victim, or a tortured soul, including witness statements that a shooter acted crazy or insane, speculating or allowing sources to speculate on the mental health condition of the perpetrator, showing graphic images of the crime scene, speculating on a motive with law enforcement, family, coworkers, etc., showing images of the shooter with weapons or dressed in military-style clothing, reporting on a manifesto. What does it, using it add to the story? Only quote a manifesto when it adds important information. Okay. I think his pain and rage were real. The cynicism and nihilism are a facade. I'll one up you on that, Peter Kahn. I think you cannot be truly cynical and nihilistic if you don't come from a place of pain. I think those are absolutely compatible. The nihilism, the cynicism is a natural self-defense mechanism to not being able to deal with your pain and suffering. It's a way to anesthetize yourself. I think his Nazism was part of that facade. Well, I don't know if I agree or disagree necessarily, because I don't know if that even matters at some point. If you're at the point where you're murdering people and you're espousing like Nazi rhetoric that far that you're making permanent tattoos on your body and so on and so forth, it's not a facade anymore, right? I'm a firm believer that in general, people show who they are through their actions. You can speculate on what their intentions were, what their thought process was, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it's the actions that are their way of interacting with the rest of the world. The black box that is their mind, we cannot figure it out. But we can figure out, like, hey, what did they do? What did they put effort in? What did they go out and actually, how did they affect the lives of other people? But yeah, that was what I was looking for, DJ Che. Thank you. Anyways, yeah, so he's basically glorifying mass shootings, or he sees mass shootings as glorious things, which, well, yeah, that explains why he himself went on to do one. We all know it's just a fucking spectacle at this point, and the spectacle and the killer are far more interesting than the boring fucks who are killed. There's always humor in darkness. Jesus, this is horribly sad. So the Nashville shooting was particularly interesting because a bitch broke the ER barrier with a decent kill score for the first time. This is like the greatest accomplishment of feminism ever. For a femoid, even though a tranny, but still a vagina haver, to feel so empowered that they could take it upon themselves to pick themselves by the bootstraps, get their gear in order, and successfully go ER is a moment Valerie Solanas would be proud of. Only feminism could have taken biological women to the logical extreme of embodying the highest pinnacles of toxic masculinity. Well, Jesus. Yeah, that's someone who really loves mass shootings. Worth noting that he uploaded this video before the shooting and scheduled for it to be published onto his YouTube channel after the shooting. What does ER stand for? I'm not sure, actually. Seems like in context it seemed to mean some kind of record when it comes to mass shootings, because he's talking about a kill count and the ER in the same sentence. Also, it's the same apartment that he posted back in December 2022 on his OK page. Oh yeah, so this is all proof that the what Eric Toller is posting here is proof that this YouTube account, that this OK.ru account actually belong to the perpetrator. This is important. We will get to it, but this is actually really important that there's proof that those accounts belong to him. I wonder if the Alan TX was a white supremacist. If only there was a post that he made himself where we could find out in context of him being Latino himself. It's funny because it's true. I think I'll take my chance with the white supremacist. Latino children, act black or become white supremacist. His ideology will forever be a mystery. Pinochet did nothing wrong. My kind of people. My kind of people. That's a lot more than just once again, that's a lot more than just anti-politics. I mean, I'll see what anti-politics actually means, because I'm just going off the etymology here. Probably done posting this thread, but in summary, the Allen shooter was obviously a white supremacist neo-Nazi. He was basically announcing that he was going to do mass shooting for months beforehand and planned his target weeks in advance. He also posted his handwritten personal diary. Everything I've seen shows that this is about the most textbook mass shooter you'll ever find, and he tells you about it every step of the way. Also forgot to post this earlier. I found his OK profile by searching for active profiles with the filters of his birthday, those living in the US, and male. About 50 results, and the Hitler smiley face avatar made it an easy pick for my first choice of checking if it was him. One last thing, noticed by Jake Godin. The Allen shooter was a big fan of libs of TikTok and signed off on one of his posts with Heil Hitler. This post was inspired by libs of TikTok. I had this teacher who was supposed to be a chemistry teacher, but she used the class to promote Jewish metaversity hippie bullshit. I was just starting to go right-wing. She would always say some politically correct crap like, we all bleed red, or there is only one race, the human race. I didn't know what to say at the time. I know what I would say now. Animals bleed red, but they're not considered human. If there is only one race, the human race, how is it possible for anyone to be racist? I was sick of hearing her bullshit. One day, just for fun, I did the Roman salute. She got butthurt as hell. Who would have guessed? There's only one race, the rat race. True. He himself identifies as right wing. Neither of those arguments are sound. Yes, jokes indeed. Neither of those arguments are sound indeed. I'm not gonna be debating his like fucking social media schizo posts, but yeah, if you want, if we want to go into the details, animals bleed red, but they're not considered humans. Because the point of saying we all bleed red is to bring attention to all the things that we have in common as human beings, not to establish a criterion on what it is that makes us human. So it is a non sequitur, if we're going to name it the logical fallacy there. And if there's only one race, the human race, how is it possible for anyone to be racist? Because race might not be a scientific fact, but it still can be a social construction that we build categorization and distinctions and isms around. Both can be true at the same time. We're all in the rat race for it, lol, true. Also, being nice to animals is good too, true. Oh, then you got Mindy Robinson replying, that video was timestamped after his death, bub. No amount of fakery and mental gymnastics is going to convince anyone that Mauricio Garcia was a white supremacist Nazi. So, okay, now we're getting into why am I even covering this? Because there is a lot of misinformation going around, especially in right-wing circles, denying that he was right-wing. This is a classic thing, basically like citing his name as in Mexicans cannot be white supremacists or neo-Nazis, or like Latino people specifically. He's not Mexican, right? He's American. There's been a lot of that, unfortunately. Yan Miles Chong, the great source of cringe. Theory, assuming that the Russian social media profile wasn't just planted as a psyop, obviously, keeping his bases open. The Allen shooter was an accelerationist in a similar vein to the Christchurch shooter. Neither on the left nor right, he was apolitical and wanted the media and all its assorted commentators to contort themselves into a pretzel. As such, he made references to Tim Pool, Libs of TikTok, the transgender Nashville shooter, and other references that only the always online person might understand. Or, maybe he was just a terminally online, very lonely and in pain person. Like, that's why those are his references. Alternative theory. The manifesto is nonsense written by an always online person intended to smear anti-establishment figures. Who even knows what's true? We live in a post-truth simulation where the narrative is all that matters. Welcome to the desert of the real. Wow, so deep, Yan Miles Chong.